so much, Lauren, for being with us today and sharing your journey with baby loss. So tell us your story.
Thanks for having me, Jess. So my journey started probably a number of years ago now when we lost our 13-week-old baby with a blighted ovum. We went on to have 3 children, Paige, Matthew and Madison, who are now 11, 10 and 8. When the children were still fairly young, we then lost 5 years ago a little girl, Faith, who was 24 weeks gestation, and unfortunately she was born stillborn. So, yeah.
Wow. And how does, after grieving, you decide, well, I grieve and stick to that, or should I just, how can I heal from it? How can I move on and care and be a mom, a wife? How does that find for you?
I guess everyone grieves differently. For our family, I was very lucky in that I had a very supportive and encouraging husband. He would be there for me, and whilst men don't always talk about their emotional side or their issues that they're dealing with, Jeremy would often support me, but also add his little comments here and there that would tell me that he needed support too, that he cared about what had happened and that he needed to air his grief as well. I guess as time's gone on, our challenges were over having young children that didn't comprehend the situation, but also trying to remember and to celebrate her life, knowing that she's in a better place and that we'll see her again one day. It has been a journey, especially in my relationship with God, where I've questioned when I haven't understood why He allowed that to happen. But also it's given me hope that God, He really came alongside us. I had a pastor's midwife that was the nurse on duty, or the midwife that birthed Faith, and she was incredible. We had, through the whole labour, a time where she went to her car and she got an Above Rubies magazine out of the car, and in this article God spoke to me. Now I was in labour in the hospital ward, and we had worship music playing the whole time, and I had stage 4 placenta praeviria as well, which meant the placenta was fully covering the opening of the uterus. Now it was over the Easter long weekend, so it was a real situation where they were getting out textbooks. They hadn't had a case where I was in the grey zone, so to speak, where any time after 24 weeks it would be a natural labour. Any time before 20 weeks, any time after 24 it would be natural, any time before 24 would be caesarean. Now, because I was 24 and they weren't sure exactly when Faith had passed, just sometime in that 4-week period, they initially said, oh look, we think you're going to have caesarean, but it wouldn't be a normal caesarean. They then chopped their tune due to lack of staffing issues over the Easter long weekend and that, and said, no, we're going to send you home, we'll get you back after Easter and you can have a natural labour, but we'll prep you in case anything goes wrong. And the risk of having a hysterectomy or hemorrhaging out was pretty strong. So came back in, had this midwife who was a pastor's wife. And like I say, it was incredible. She went to her car and got this Above Rubies magazine out, and in this article, or in this magazine, there was an article on how God spoke to this lady and had revealed to her about Hannah's story and how God had actually closed her womb for a season. And I'm in this labour ward knowing I'm about to birth a stillborn little girl out, and it just floored me that even in our darkest moments, God's there. He's speaking to us. He sees what we're going through, and He loves us. He blesses you, but He also keeps His hand over you when you need to lean on Him most. And I must say, all of that just really reassured me. We had a completely pain-free labour, which was the first time ever that's happened for me. I've heard of other cases, but never for me. So that was pretty special in itself. So it's just been, for me, probably the hardest thing moving forward was trusting God that was the desires of my and my husband's heart going to come to fruition, and knowing that God saw our desires and that He was going to, or trusting Him that He was going to bless us with the desires of our heart, or did He know or have something better?
So after you lost faith, you had to go through, like the grieving. Did you choose the path of this behind, I'm just gonna move forward, or say no, I'm gonna have some days I'm gonna cry and the kid's gonna watch me? Like which path did you take?
That's a good question. So in our circumstance, because the children were very young, Paige was 5 at the time, first year at primary school, Matthew was last year at early learning or kinder, and for us, because it was school holidays, Paige had come with me to the ultrasound appointment where we learnt Bubs had passed away. So for us, the kids were involved from a hands-on or a face-to-face sort of scenario from the time we learnt she'd passed right through to the labour process, where my mum took the kids to look after them while I was at the hospital. So the kids were very exposed to what had gone on, and hubby and I made the decision that we would involve them in the process. So from the funeral, where we got them involved, to throwing little pink petals down onto the coffin, and that we tried to talk to the kids and explain it to them. They did artwork, and we were lucky in that the daycare that Matthew was at got the kids to draw beautiful and paintings and artwork that they put into the coffin and into the ground as well. And just some of what they did, and they encouraged the kids, so the kids were able, and even us as a family, we spoke about the fact that Faith was in heaven and that we'd see her again. And there were days when Jeremy and I found it very difficult. The kids would ask questions that were very hard to answer as parents, and were gut-wrenching. I mean, one of the kids asked us about the kid or about Faith going into the ground, and do we throw dirt on her? And questions like that. It's very hard as a parent when it's your child for starters, and you have to explain it in terms that children understand, but that they understand, but they also have hope. And I guess for us as a family, there's been times where the kids have seen us cry and mourn Faith. A lot of it was done probably behind closed doors between me and Jeremy. At night, when everyone would go to bed and I'd be with my thoughts and my grief, especially hard initially too, because we lost twins 3 months after we lost Faith. We didn't want a huge age gap between our children, so we sort of jumped back into the saddle quite quickly, which was fine in a sense, but we kept miscarrying, and I then lost the twins at about 13 weeks gestation as well. And at that point I sort of found it very difficult, thinking, is it going to come to fruition what we were wanting to achieve? And it was a real trusting journey with God, knowing, is it going to happen, or is it in our strength we're trying to fulfill something that we want? It was a hard one. But as the birthdays and that have gone on, we still mention Faith. The kids know who she is. But it is something that we still celebrate, but I haven't placed as much importance or as much emphasis, I suppose. When birthdays come around, if the kids don't mention it, Jeremy and I will mention it and just remind each other. Or like this year, she would have started primary school. So for us, we're aware of it, but at the same time, we don't want to sort of keep the kids sort of locked into that grieving process, because they've had to deal with it as well, and reach a place where they know that she is in a better place, and that they can't, I don't know quite how to put it, but how it's a happy memory, not as one that's always looked upon as something sad and lost.
And that how the grieving, knowing that she's in heaven, in a good place as well.
Absolutely.
And how was your marriage during this time?
My marriage, it's had its patches, I'll be honest. Jeremy's been extremely supportive and encouraging. There's moments where I'll yank out some of her mementos. The hospital gave us a quilt, beautiful quilt. So things like that, cards and that. We've kept all of that stuff. And Jeremy's been really great in that he'll sit, if I want to talk, he'll listen. He's been my biggest supporter. When I haven't been able to talk about things with other people, he's always been there for a hug or for just being sympathetic and understanding. And I guess when he's seen me down, he'll offer his comments, or if I need my space, he'll give me the space to let me process and grieve on my own, but also if I need him, he's there. And I guess too, as time's gone on, I mean, us women quite often think it's our our process or our grieving that we need to deal, but the husband's there through the labour. it's his child. And I guess too, as women, we need to realise that our men do need support and encouragement too. And that's vital in working together through your grief, but also through your marriage, that you're there for each other, not just for the woman.
Yeah, it's partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. And if you have someone you know is going through it, or like to encourage a woman who's grieving, what would you say?
I would say trust on God, lean on God. So often we try to do things in our own strength, and we don't see the bigger picture. We don't know what God sort of got planned for us, but we can trust and know that God sees everything. He sees our tears. He sees what we're going through, but He's got better things in store for us.
Yeah,
He loves us, even though we're going through a hard time. He loves us,
Yeah.
and He's got our best interest at heart. And I would say, if you've got a partner or a family, lean on them, share with them. Don't bottle it up inside.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they got children or not children, like they want to try for more kids, and how do you pass this experience to move forward? Trusting God and
I guess praying. Reveal your desires to God. I mean, He knows everything, all our thoughts, all our desires, but ask Him, petition with Him. I believe when we petition and we put forth our requests, God hears them and He will action them according to if He believes they're for us or So I guess it's trusting, knowing that even if it doesn't happen in the natural, that God's got something better in store for us. We need to trust Him.
Well, that's good. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. God's blessed us with 2 more beautiful children, Joshua and Savannah. And it's been a journey, I'll be honest. It hasn't come easily. I mean, Josh, I was able to differentiate the pregnancy being a boy as opposed to losing a little girl. Savannah's pregnancy I probably found a little bit harder. I had that monitoring with high-risk pregnancy, which helped. But yeah, we've gone from strength to strength, and I must say it's been such a blessing knowing that God has fulfilled our desires, and it's seeing the children now. It's such a delight when your little kid wraps their arms around your neck and says, "I love you, Mummy." It's been
cool.
good.
Oh, well, thanks so much, Lorraine. I know you're going to be an inspiration to so many women, and it's a hard topic. Some women don't want to talk about it, but thank you so much. You're amazing, and we love you.
Thanks, Jess.